Hey Bible Nuts, since we're rounding out roughly the first third of the book of Acts, I thought it would probably be wise to do a quick recap episode to prime us for the next couple of acts. Get it? Like, in a play? Never mind, we won't need this. The book starts off with a guy who rose from the dead and claimed to be God, and he tells his students to wait in the city that they were staying in until some unspecified time. He tells them they won't be there forever, but one day they will carry the good news that he's the king of the whole world, from Jerusalem to Judea, Samaria, and eventually to the ends of the earth. It's a pretty big claim. The guy who rose from the dead, by the way, his name was Jesus. He claimed some really wild stuff and he did some pretty incredible things. He brought other people back from the dead, he healed people, he forgave their sins. You know, we didn't believe him until he rose from the dead. And then we all realized collectively that the entirety of this whole document that I just threw on the ground was one big foreshadowing to this guy. When we all collectively realized that, we then had to ponder another difficult question, which was this. So if this guy rose from the dead, and if this guy's claims are true, and if the entire part of this book before him rising from the dead predicted that he would rise from the dead for the forgiveness of sins, what now? And then he ascends into heaven. Whoops. Enter the church. This guy's students are sitting in a prayer room when whammo! A big gust of wind enters the space and they all begin to speak in different languages, which was weird. But since we're really good Bible readers, then we see that this is the reversal of what happened in the beginning of the document when God dispersed a bunch of people all over the whole world and had them speaking in all these different languages. The Tower of Babel. Babel? I'm gonna say Babel. The Tower of Babel. This is the idea that they're all coming together as one big human family again. So we see that this book, the book of Acts, is really bent on telling us about the human family and how they're all going to be united under this Jesus guy who claimed to be God and then the king of the world. But then we see that two of his students heal a guy who couldn't walk in like forever, and we all collectively realize that the dead, not dead guy's students are actually supposed to carry on the theme of this document into the foreseeable future. So yeah, Jesus claimed to be the Messiah, and now he left a ragtag bunch of people who can't get along, who don't see eye to eye, and who sometimes actively don't want to be in the same room as each other, in charge as his image of the Messiah here on Earth. It actually started out pretty great though. Everyone did get along. Luke tells us in fact that they all worked together with the same mind, the same ideas, the same intentions behind what they were doing, and we all collectively realize that maybe we can do this. Until a husband and wife sell some of their land and then keep back some of it for themselves and they lie about it.
I know you held it back. The Holy Spirit told me so.
And since we're still good biblical readers from the first time, we actually see that this is a reflection of the Adam and Eve story where the husband and wife decide to do what is right in their own eyes, and they try to grasp equality with God, and then they fall over dead. Anyway, that messes everything up and things go downhill pretty quick. I mean, you know, barring the whole sovereign God in charge of everything thing, and so he will, no matter what, get the glory from all of this, including the mistakes and sinful actions of those who are not near to him or do not know him, but also those who follow him. Nonetheless, this is why thousands of people in the book of Acts continue to join this growing movement despite the flaws of the students of the dead, not dead guy. Everything is going relatively not murdery until one of the students, Stephen, decides to preach to the leaders of Israel at the time and tells them that they are the ones that killed the Messiah. This may not seem like a huge deal, but in fairness, these leaders literally spent their lives, their fathers' lives, and their fathers' fathers' lives for generations literally preparing themselves and others for the coming Messiah, and so to be told that they killed him and that their holy scriptures predicted that they would kill him in order to glorify God, that didn't go over well. They stoned Stephen. And this causes a bunch of people who did believe in Jesus as the Jewish Messiah to flee Jerusalem and scatter all over Asia Minor. This is clearly getting out of hand, a guy named Saul said, probably. This guy, Saul, was a big deal, and he was also a leader who approved of Stephen's death, and then actively sought out these Jesus students to arrest or kill. And since he wanted more of them dead, he begs his boss to send him to Antioch to make sure this thing isn't spreading. I mean, it's not like he would ever run into the guy that they follow. He runs into the guy that they follow.
He is struck blind by a burning light.
Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?
Who are you, Lord?
I am Jesus, who you are persecuting. But rise and enter the city, and you will be told what to do.
Well, this pretty much does it in for Saul, and he becomes a follower of Jesus himself. He begins to go all over the place, telling other Jewish men and women that Jesus is the long-awaited Messiah, and he's also learning how the scriptures all point to Jesus. In the meantime, another student of Jesus goes around Samaria and begins to convert Samaritans to Christianity, which was like super weird since the Samaritans and the Jews had a 6th-century-old blood feud over a small plot of land at the top of a mediocre hill. But what all of this told us was the simple fact that maybe, just maybe, this Jesus guy was right. Maybe the guy who empirically was killed and then the guy who empirically came back from the freaking dead is a guy we ought to take heed of.
What, heeded of?
Headed.
When no one headed.
Take headed of.
No one would take headed of my instruction.
When he speaks about stuff, so when he says the good news of his salvation will spread to the ends of the earth, maybe we ought to believe him. Maybe we ought not to think that it's up to us to make sure that that happens, but rather rest in what he accomplished in history and how he is actively working in and through his people to make sure that the good news of his salvation will actually spread. Oh, but that's for the next time when Peter sees a bunch of animals in a blankie. Until then, this was Bible Unbound. We'll see you then.